Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of BIM Pure Live. I'm your host. I am Nicolas Tellier. You can call me Nick. And we've got a brand new season of BIM Pure Live. We took a little break for the summer, but we've got a great rosters of guests. And we've got a very special episode about clash detection today. I'm soon going to introduce the guest. But first, if you're watching live today on September 11, you can type in the chat where you are watching from. I always like to know where people are watching. I can see Leandro from Brazil. I can see Rena from Michigan. I can see Ali from El Salvador. I can see Julie from Napa Valley. So keep saying where you're from. Always fun for me. And we've got a brand new sponsor for this season of BIM Pure Live. Let me move just over here. And this season sponsor is Guardian. This is a great plugin for Revit. So Guardian helps you to keep your firm's processes and standards and ensuring they're being met, and they have multiple features. And for this season, we're going to feature one really great feature of Guardian per episode. And the feature we're highlighting this week is to help you monitor and protect some tools. And you can prevent some users from doing bad stuff in the model. You can see right now there's a Project Central. You can see some actions that users are taking. For example, you can monitor a specific action like the command explode CAD. You can see a user try to explode a CAD file, which is one of the worst things you can do inside a Revit model. And something you can do if you don't want any of your users to explode a CAD file, you can set Guardian to prevent this command from being done, and you can require a comment. And you can also type a message to your teammates and employees and say to them, exploding CAD file is really bad. You can even add memes and images in there to explain why you shouldn't do this. And in this demo, you will see now the admin is going to unlog as an admin and is going to return just as a regular user. And if that user tries to explode the CAD file again, you can see what happens. They get this warning. You can require a password or you can require a comment. And for the admin, this is something that is trackable. So people, you can see the admin is logging in again. And they're going back to their Project Central, and they can go to this specific command, and they can see a list of all users who've tried to use their command, including if they succeeded in doing so or if it failed. In this case, you can see all the details of that person that tried to exploit a CAD file, but it didn't work for that case. You also get the time of the day where to try to do that, and a screenshot of what they were seeing at that moment. So that is one of multiple features included in Guardian for it. I am thrilled that they're sponsoring this season. I am very picky when it comes to sponsor. I actually approached them myself. So I would only recommend products that I would actually use myself, right? So thank you very much to Guardian for sponsoring the season of BIM Pure Live. In the upcoming episodes, we're going to feature different features because this plugin does a lot. All right, so glancing again at the chat, I can see Osam from Germany, Jay from Belgium. I can see Ryan from Utah, Bishal from Nepal, Jerry from Belgium, Eduardo from Argentina, Brian from Orlando. So people from all around the place. Thank you so much for joining in session after session. I truly appreciate it, and it means a lot. So a couple more things before we're going to introduce the guest. BIM Pure, this is the membership website that we've launched back in February. And you can see when you subscribe to BIM Pure, this is what you see. We have a list of Revit courses. So let's scroll down a little bit. Revit courses. We have the Guardians community where you can ask questions and interact. We've just launched a brand new course called Develop a Custom Revit Toolbar with Eric Fritz. And we have other courses with different masters, one with Nehama about landscape for BIM, and one about culture and innovation in AEC with Mercedes, both previous guests of BIM Pure Live, as well as downloadable files, such as our template, door families, pamphlets, Dynamo scripts. We have 2 upcoming live masterclasses, so a bit similar to what we're doing here, but only for members, about Revit and Python. And one I'll be doing about healthy Revit models. And what else? And also we keep putting in new content. You can see the date of the new content that's been added. So sometimes we have great questions from the user and the community, and I'll record a short video to explain how to solve their problems. So if you want to subscribe and join the membership and get access to all this great content. That's at bimpure.com. It's available with an annual subscription. Okay, I think I did my little housekeeping for now. No, a couple of more things. And yeah, if you want to see the full roster of the BIMPure Live season, go to the BIMPure blog. You can see the list of all upcoming episodes. And yeah, maybe I can announce the next one. AI details for Revit. That's with Nick Lima and Nirva Ferveshetian. Hoping I said that name right. That's next week at the same time, 3 p.m. Eastern. All right, now I'm done. I think I mentioned everything. So again, people keep saying where they're from. We got Paula from Uruguay, Haluk from Turkey, Nick Lima, he's going to be there next week, from Boston, Taylor from Texas, Glenn from New Zealand. Okay, that's enough. So today's guest is Ignacy Lozinski. He's currently based in Oslo, Norway, originally from Poland. He's the author and founder at Become BIM Coordinator since 2020. He's also a BIM coordinator and manager and digital collaboration leader at Multi-Consult since 2022. He's also a co-founder at BIM Corner since 2019. And before then, he worked at Norconsult Digital as a BIM system developer and at WSP as a BIM engineer at the structural team. So welcome to the show, Ignacy.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me, Nicolas. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks a lot. Super excited about having you to talk about Clash. So the question I like to ask the guest members, how did you get started with BIM? How did you get interested in that topic? You're originally an engineer, right?
Yeah, I'm a civil engineer. I'm a structural engineer. When I finished my master, I finished the master in Poland. You know, it's like a long story short. I always liked to connect the technology, like the IT, with construction. And during my studies in Poland, in Warsaw, I saw there were a few classes related to modeling, but we were modeled then in ArchiCAD. So I thought it might be a good idea to just learn a bit of this part. And during my journey through being a structural engineer, I saw that BIM is gaining popularity, especially in the Scandinavian countries. So I thought it might be a good idea to start learning the basics, and then I just started the basics, like the theory, and I started to model things in Revit, and I get the job as a BIM engineer in one of the Italian companies, and then one of the big WSP company, and this is how it actually started.
Okay, and what kind of tools have you used since you
Excuse
started
me?
your career? What tools have you been using? What software?
Right now or previously at the beginning? So basically at the beginning we were using different tools like Robot for structural engineers as a tool to make the calculations. But when I progressed through my career, I used different software, like mainly Revit for modeling, but also Tekla for structural connections. And then when I of course also Dynamo for as well modeling and data transfers of various parameters. What else? And of course, after that, when I gradually moved into BIM coordinator's role, I began to work with Navisworks, with Solibri, with Synchro as well. I also was involved in AR and VR initiative, and I was used their Unity to create like games for VR. So it was kind of a mixture. Right now, I'm using mainly like the software that I mentioned, also BIM Collab, Newforma Connect, Plannerly, from time to time, Revit, Dynamo, Solibri, Navis, ACC, of course, BIM 360, like not BIM 360, it's called right now like ACC docs, something like that. Also model coordination. So this is a mixture of various tools.
And how did you end up being a content creator and creating courses and articles? You're also hosting webinars, right? How did that get
Yeah.
started?
Yeah, actually, it started like a couple of years ago in Oslo. Me and my 5 fellow friends, we just met once for a beer, and I thought it might be a good idea. We just start talking in the bar. We didn't know each other. They are co-founders of BIM Corner. So just cheers, guys, if you are watching it right now. And we had an idea. Well, every one of us has a different specialty when it comes to BIM. So I thought it might be a good idea to create a place where we share our knowledge with others. And we were working on Norwegian projects. And as maybe people know, Norway is quite advanced when it comes to implementation of certain, let's say, not a technology, but methodologies related to open BIM. So I thought it's quite unique to have a 5-6 engineers who want to share the knowledge with others and have such experience in from the region projects. And that's how BIM Corner started. We started with the first post, then second, and right now there are over 200 or more, I think.
Nice. So that's bimcorner.com. Is that where people can go to check this out?
Yes.
Okay, so it's
yes.
So that's the one where you're doing with a group of people. There's also your own website where all by yourself, which is Become BIM Coordinator, right?
Become BIM Coordinator. Actually, Become BIM Coordinator is like a course. It's a cohort-based course, which helps people become a BIM coordinators. And this thought about creating this this training was just okay. There are no such courses which go in depth into this topic. So I thought, yeah, let's create one, since I have like over 12 years experience in this regard, and I know tons of people who want to learn it. This is like often a quite natural progression from BIM technician, BIM specialist, BIM modeler into BIM management world, that they go through like BIM modeler, BIM coordinator, often BIM, and then BIM manager. I often see like the BIM coordination position often like blends with BIM manager's position. So there are a lot of similar responsibilities between these two roles.
I have a lot of questions, but I'm tempted to get started with. I know you have some slides and things you want to present, so I'll keep some questions for later.
Tons of things to present. So exactly. Maybe we can leave the questions for later on, for the later of the session.
Yeah, I'll be keeping an eye on the chat, so maybe I won't ask the questions right away, but I keep asking them, and I'll be.
Sure.
I'll be bombarding Ignacy with some questions later. But so yeah, you have some slides. We can now see the screen.
So I'm not sure you are showing right now the slides.
Yeah, now we can see them.
Cool. So I don't know if we are going to go deep into my who am I, but if so, let's do it. Hello, nice to meet you all. I'm Ignacy Lozinski. As I mentioned, I'm a BIM coordinator, BIM manager, 12 years of experience from the field, and I was working on different projects. So I gained experience from different kind of projects like hospitals, office buildings, universities. Right now, I'm working on an infrastructural project, one of the biggest one in Norway, which is Oslo Metro Line, which is called Fornebubanen. And as Nicholas mentioned, I also co-founded BIM Corner blog. So if you haven't checked the resource, there are like more than 200 articles about various topics of BIM, from parametric design to BIM coordination and BIM on construction sites. So great resource, I think. Please go there and check the resource. What's also I mentioned, I also help people become BIM coordinators and improve their skills as a BIM coordinators. Right now, Become BIM Coordinator program helped over 500 AC professionals from all over the world. So if you are interested like in this regard, like transitioning from into BIM coordination role or improving your skills, feel free to reach me out. Just write me a topic, BIM coordinator. You can reach me out on LinkedIn, or maybe just email me, Ignacy Lozinski at bimcorner.com. So I don't want to take this intro too long, so let's get into the business. So today my topic is about BIM coordination, but maybe not. It's about clash detection, but firstly, I would like to explain a bit about BIM coordination. So first of all, I would like to, for our audience, just explain a bit what are the differences between BIM coordination and how I look at the BIM coordination topic, okay? So to simplify the reasoning, when we implement BIM methodology into a project, it's like a vital to initially define, you know, the goals that our clients or company aims to achieve, okay? And at this first phase, when we analyze the benefits of BIM that we can offer, we also need to think about the goals, and then we create a plan how these goals will be met and what kind of BIM uses we are going to implement into the project. And in short, such a plan is called BIM execution plan. And for me personally, BIM coordination, it's, let's say, a process that coordinates activities related to correct implementation of this plan into the project. And this is, of course, my division, and I'd like to divide the BIM coordination activities into three main groups: model coordination, data coordination, and process coordination. So let's now look at, let's explain these three groups just briefly, okay? So, and the first is the model coordination. It's like a key part of a BIM coordinator's role, and because it involves the use of software to create federated models from various trades and then detect clashes, identify the design issues, okay? What's more, the process starts like first from collecting the required models and setting up rules, tests that are going to check the model, and then having, and of course, these rules tests can be tailored to specific elements, systems, to areas, okay? Then we, using this software, we automatically check clashes, and all these clashes then can be reviewed, commented, we can assign people to these clashes, we can choose the responsible parties and resolve the issues. And afterwards, the reports of the clashes that are created can be shared with people who are involved during, for example, coordination meetings, and during these coordination meetings, resolve critical issues. The next part, the next part is data coordination, and data coordination in BIM is all about making sure that the right information is in the model at every stage of the project, because data coordination like helps us manage data needs, so everything is, you know, accurate, ready to use, like when the models are used later during the construction, or for example during the facility management phase. So in that part of BIM coordination, we focus on checking that models have the correct details such as location, specification, properties, manuals, and those type of things. And the last part is the process coordination. And in process coordination is all about, let's say, planning and managing the timing of model and data checks, because it's important to understand that if model checks are done too early or too late, and for example, too early and the model is not ready for the coordination, that such situation can lead to, for example, wasting time, actually cause many errors, many bad discussions with the people, because we are forcing them to repair the model which is not ready for the coordination. Okay. And process coordination is more or less about planning how we are going to, and how and when we are going to perform a coordination in the model. So these are the three main parts of BIM coordination. And
I do have a quick question. Is it typically
sure.
the same people that does all of these three, or it might be a different job description?
Like sometimes there are, like for me, when I run a coordination, first of all, I need to plan a coordination. So I get the project deliverables, I get the dates from project manager, just to know, okay, what kind of delivery we will have at what date. Okay. And then we can plan using the pool planning method to know, okay, if the date is 2nd of December, then I need to perform the model coordination and data coordination like 3 weeks before it. Okay. So me as a BIM coordinator, I'm inside all these three parts.
Okay. Get it.
Gotcha. So, so I defined a bit about what is BIM coordination. Don't worry, guys. If you are missing like the practical part, I'm going into it. Just a few slides about theory. So people are also asking me, like the clients who I'm working with, why it's so important. So actually, I wanted to explain it in two ways. Like one in more scientific way and one in more like tangible, realistic way. So as you can see here, this slide presents the two graphs, okay? And both of them are taken from BIM adoption survey created by Hong Kong Construction Industry Council. And from this report, we can easily see that 3D coordination of the model is one of the most, it's the most popular BIM use ever, okay? And if we take so that's why it's super important to have the right processes for BIM coordination. And more tangible way to explain why BIM coordination is important, we just need to look at those pictures, okay? And I remember that I made some kind of a funny post once on LinkedIn, and there was tons of comments. Yeah, of course, that it's not about BIM coordination. It's about common sense of people who are, working, are involved in the project. And I would say, yes, of course, it's about common sense of people. But in my opinion, as an engineer, we shouldn't rely on common sense of people, but rely on like processes that will avoid such situations on site, because construction is not a playground. It's a real deal. So here
are these actual pictures, or
yeah,
it's almost hard to
that
believe?
these are like real things. So
All right.
yeah. So that's why here BIM coordination comes into play. Okay. And today we will focus only on a part of BIM coordination. We are going to talk about clash detection. And to perform such a clash detection, BIM coordinators can use various software tools. Okay, today on the market there are a few applications. Some of them are like cloud-based, some of them are like desktop applications. And of course, each application has their own features, has their own different ways that provides user like enable the user to perform the clash detection. Okay, and sorry. And today we are going to focus on two different applications. First is Navisworks Manage, because yeah, it's the most popular coordination software available on the market today. Period. That's it. That's the reality. And I know that big part of your audience, Nicholas, are also users of Autodesk products. That's why I choose to present this one. And the second application is Solibri Office. I choose it because, in my opinion, is the most powerful tool to perform quality checks of BIM models. And in today's demo, I would like to prove it in a way. Okay. Cool. So before we dive into the Navisworks to show you the demo, to help us easily understand how Navisworks checking process works, I created a quite simple diagram. So first, before we check anything, we need to receive disciplinary models from the teams. Okay, so me as a BIM coordinator, I need to receive from architectural a model from installation, they have their own model, they need to send it to me. Me as a BIM coordinator, I combine this model into one single federated model. And the first step is to create clash tests that will, let's say, dictate what we want to check, okay? Then using these tests, we check the model. And once we have all the issues, all the clashes that Navis found, we need to groom them in, let's say, meaningful way. And then we generate a report of these issues, of these errors, and such a report is called issue report. And at the end, we send this report to people responsible for fixing these errors. And just to clarify, I'm not going to talk about issue management part. It's quite important part of clash detection, but today, since the time is like limited, I wanted to only purely focus on finding clashes and showing the differences between those two applications that I mentioned before, okay? So with that being said, maybe let's jump to Navis, okay? Is there any questions, Nicholas, from the crowd or?
Yeah, well, one of the questions was about Navisworks versus Solibri, so I think you're going to get into it.
Exactly.
So yeah, okay. I'll let you keep going.
Cool. Okay. So this is Navisworks. If someone doesn't know the tool, in Navisworks, first thing which we should do, I'm just for clarification, I'm using a sample project from Revit. Everyone knows it, so I think it will be much easier for us to understand what's going on. So first thing, as you can see, if we are a BIM coordinators, first of all, we need to merge all the models from different disciplines. So we have architectural, we have electrical, we have HVAC, we have plumbing. So let's say that we miss one model from a structural team. In order to add a new model into the project, we need to go to append. We click append and we choose structural file. I'm going to use IFC files for this presentation, okay? Just as a clarification.
Yeah, that was one of my questions. I see these are all IFC. So when you use Navisworks, do you typically prefer to work with IFCs or you sometimes work with native file format?
I actually, because on most of the projects that I'm working on, we are using IFC files because this is the file that we are delivering to the client, and this is mandate from the client. I know, of course, that most of the people are using, like from States, they are using Revit files directly, or they are using NWC files, the cache Navisworks files. But we as a BIM coordinators here in Norway and a lot of places in Europe, we are using IFC. So this is a little bit of different game. So just...
Yeah, I think there's quite a big difference between North America and Europe, from what I understand, where Europe seems to be going a bit more towards OpenBIM, towards IFC, toward different solutions, such as all the Nemetschek products and Solibri, where in the US it's a bit more Autodesk centric, isn't it?
And I think like they are not giving a about, you know, using the OpenBIM methodology. That's my that's my impression. Of course, it's that's only my impression.
Yeah, that's also what I see.
One more thing, if you are working with IFC files, you need to remember to go into options in Navisworks to file reader options. For example, here, let me see, where is IFC? There are conversion methods for reading IFC files in Navisworks. You need to be careful about those. I'm not going to talk about these in detail, but there are 3 conversion methods, how Navisworks treats IFC files. And if you choose the wrong, let's say, method, it might be the models can be misplaced. Okay. So right now we have our models. You see, we have a structural model. Let's jump into clash detection. If we want to open the clash detection, we go to home, we go to clash detection. I have it over here, so I will just pin it and I will hide. So here it is. Here is a clash detection at the top of the window. we define the clashes and we define the tests. The tests are, let's say, filters, what kind of components we are going to check in the model. Okay, so let's say that we want to check something. I will add a test. I just click add a test, and here comes a new window, select window, and here we defined which models we want to check or compare with each other. Okay, so let's say that we want to check, for example, electrical model with structural model. Okay, I will just write here electrical model versus structural model. Okay, then we can define what kind of clashes we are going to check, what type of issues we are going to check. We are going to check hard clashes. So these are like normal clashes. How to define? Yeah, like normal clashes. Two elements collide with each other. These are the hard clash. We are going to check the hard clashes. We run the test, and we see there are like a lot of different. We got like 56 different. If I just highlight use item colors. Give me a sec. So we have like 56 different clashes. That's it. It's simple as that. But we as a BIM coordinators are not going to go, yeah, it's tedious to go through all these clashes one by one and check them in the project, okay? And as you can see, there are different clashes related to different objects. So what we prefer to do as a BIM coordinators, we want to, let's say, decrease the amount of issues and try to be specific about the checks. And in order to be specific, it's great to have like filters that will filter element objects in the model. And those filters are called sets, okay? I need to put, sets are like, how to describe the sets? Yeah, sets are like filters that we can use to specify the objects in the model. So let's say I created already, for the sake of this presentation, I created a set for architectural model. So let's say that I created a set for doors. If I click here, doors, you see all doors are highlighted. I can just show them, okay? If I just click windows, I have the search set for windows. So in this way, I always recommend to BIM coordinators, people who are going to run the clash detection, create search sets for each specific category that you have in your project, okay? So now, using these search sets, we can use them in the clash detective. Right now, let's add a new test. Right now, I'm going to be more specific. So let's say that I want to check lighting fixtures versus like structural columns. Okay, so here in the selection A, I will go to sets. From the electrical team, I'm going to choose lighting fixtures, and from selection B, from sets, there are structural columns, so we are going to choose structural columns. The rest will remain the same. And you see right now that we have only 2 clashes related to this test, and that's great. So you see how specific right now this clash test is. So if we know, for example, somebody from electrical team who are responsible for lighting fixtures, we can easily send them these issues, and we don't need to go through 56 issues that were presented in the previous issue. So right now I can just write assign to electrical team, for example, to Anna, and write here a comment, please check the position of the light. Okay. Boom. Now, the comment, we have information that this clash is assigned to Anna. And also, if I go to the section comments, you see my comment is here. So I hope that it was understandable. I know that it's quite basic, you know, but I just wanted to start with the basic stuff. But also people ask me often about how actually I'm creating such tests. I will just jump. How, for example, I created the order of the tests, what kind of tests should be included in the Navisworks. And I often refer and I like to explain this topic, showing two important concepts that BIM coordinators should know. The first one is the clash matrix. Clash matrix is quite important for us as a BIM coordinators because it's, as you can see, it's a table where we gather all the trades that are involved in the project. And in this case, we have like architectural, structural, HVAC, plumbing, and electrical. And in this case, these letters that you can see on the screen define the priority, or let's say the sequence for the clash test, for the clash checks. So in our case, let's look at letter C, architectural versus structural. These checks and also all the found issues within these checks will have the higher priority than, for example, letter H issues, which is structural versus plumbing, because these issues are not so critical since, you know, the plumbing systems can accommodate to structural columns, and they most often these issues can be easily fixed during the design process or even during on the construction site.
So what we see on this clash, we see architectural with architectural is A. Does that mean that the most important is that for architecture to coordinate itself?
Like the red letters, it's a good point. The red letters indicates the internal coordination. It's often like this, that that we run internal coordination between elements that are inside each trade, just to find out if there are any clashes between inside their model before they are sending it to us to create a multidisciplinary model and run a multidisciplinary test.
Yeah, that makes sense. And do you use would you use Navisworks for this as well, like running the tests in the own model?
It depends on the project. It depends on the project. If the project is using IFC files, we mostly use Solibri. If they are using different files or people don't know how to use Solibri, then we use Navisworks. Even we are using model coordination module on ACC. We are using BIM Collab Zoom as well. So there are few applications out there that it depends as well, as I said, on the project and on the people competencies on the project.
Yeah, there was someone, future NJAR, on the chat asking about the clash matrix. So I can see you have this more general clash. Well, I'm used to clash detection on ACC, and I know they have this number of clash in between the different models or the different views. Is this something you can also get with Navisworks?
Like, you don't get it with Navisworks. You need to create your own. Most probably there are plugins that can create for you the clash matrix. Right now, Solibri is going to release a new rule, which is clash detection rule, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit later on in this presentation, okay? And about the clash matrix, because I showed you very general one, but on most of the projects we are going to dive a bit deeper. So we will need to create more detailed clash matrix. Here you see, for example, that we break down the major systems into like subcategories. So for example, structural systems will be divided into like floors, slabs, columns, beams, and so on, you know, and the same with other trades like HVAC will be divided into ducts, air terminals, pipes, mechanical equipment, and so on. So we mostly use detailed clash matrix to define the clash test that will land on Navisworks. And what's more, the very important concept is system hierarchy. A lot of people don't know nothing about it. And system hierarchy in BIM coordination is like a way to organize different building system based on how easily they can be changed during the design and construction. So like it ranks, you know, from least flexible elements like structural elements or architectural elements to more flexible ones, like for example sprinklers, electrical systems, and those type of things. So BIM coordinators use this hierarchy to quickly focus on configs that has the higher priority. So when I create clash tests in Navisworks, I often put them as a top priority, those that, for example, clashes with structural teams, with architectural team. And so these two concepts, clash matrix and system hierarchy, can help us build the tests that will correspond to the order of our checks on Navis. Okay. With that being said, maybe let's jump into Navisworks. So as I said, I will just do like this. I will reset all the tests. And here we have another test. Whoops. Cool. So here we have another test, like architectural columns with structural columns. Let's run it. I'll just show something. So let's run it. And as you can see, we have like 169 clashes here, okay? And as I mentioned before, these are the clashes all over the place, all over the building. And if you are a BIM coordinator, you should focus on a certain area. And let's imagine that this building is divided into 3 areas. Let's say that the left wing is zone A of the building, the center of the building is zone B, and this right side is zone C. I actually created, if I just choose, for example, one object, there is a special property which I added to IFC file just to show what I mean by that. I created a process parameter property set, and the property is called zone. So you see that this object is from zone A of the building. And now Navisworks can give us quite a good ability to ignore certain elements from the check. So let's say that we want to check only elements from this check that are in zone A of the building. So we can go to rules, and Navisworks has their own rules, but these are not the same rules as Solibri has. These are ignore rules. So we can actually say to Solibri, okay, ignore for me all the elements that are in the zone C and zone B of this building. And I also created a search set which defines the zone B, zone A, and zone C. So just to make it more visual for our audience, zone C here, zone B here, zone A here. Okay, so enabling this ignore rules, I will just show you how it works. There are rules. We specify items which are both in selection set called general zone C. These issues will be ignored. So right now, if I go here, I rerun the test, you see that right now active issues are 69 and resolved issues are 100. What Navisworks mean by that? You see that the orange issues are active, the yellow issues are resolved. It means that Navisworks treats all the issues that were ignored from the rule as resolved. Okay, so if I just reset this, I rerun it. So we have these issues. We have like, we have these issues in place. What I like to do when I manually group issues, I group them in one group. Why? Because it's easier for me than to hide other elements and to see everything clear. So for example, I see here that the structural columns are in the right place as architectural columns, and that's good. But for example, there are 2 issues that have different placement. So I can select these issues. I can put them as an inclusive and create a certain group related only to these issues that have the wrong placement. So I can write a new group and can write wrong placement of the columns. Let's say so. Columns. I can't write. Cool. Now, if I go to none, so we have two groups. You see, there is one group of issues which are okay, and we actually can approve these issues because we see that the placement, the location of two columns are corresponds to each other, so we can resolve them. And there are also issues that are wrong. And these wrong issues we can assign to people. So for example, arc team, and please revise the position of the column. Okay. So I can add a comment here. So this way, having these issues, I manually added a new group to the clash list. Okay.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Is it a good time to take a few of them?
Just go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. First one by myself is, so you enter the message. How does that person receive the message? Is it by email? Is it by, do they have to open the model?
We are going to talk about it.
Okay, sure. Yeah, there's a question that in the chat from Jamawi asking, is the category of the model object relevant to the rules for the clash detection? If the light is a generic model, would it still be shortlisted? So do you have problems, especially in the IFC, with things not being in the correct categories? And how do you deal with that?
Yeah, okay. So of course, we have problems with IFC files and grouping them into the right category. And this is the big case, because let's say that we have doors, and doors should have the entity IFC door, but sometimes they have like IFC building proxy entity, which is a general one. So let's say it's in the more human-friendly language, it's an object, not defined object. Okay, so that's why we run also data coordination of the model, just to check if elements are in the right IFC classes. And I'm going to show how to do it in Solibri in this presentation as well. So first we are checking if the models have the right category, and then we perform the clash test.
Okay, so we're going to see that, but there's another question from Viviana and somebody else.
Sure.
So it was a good one. Good evening, Ignacy. I wanted to ask if there's a method to automate sets or have a base set that can be used across multiple projects, or if it's advisable to generate them on a per project basis. So what do you think about it?
Okay, so the whole power of the sets is that we can use them on multiple projects. If we just have short digression, if I go to find item tool where we define sets, if I choose, for example, beams from architectural model, if your IFC model, for example, we have two projects and two teams deliver projects, and two teams deliver models to those two projects, and the structure of the IFC is the same. So I mean that the properties are the same, so we can use the same search sets for both of those projects. In that way, we can use, so most probably when you are working with Navisworks and Revit files, all Revit files will group certain information in certain property set, like for example element category. Okay, and then there will be walls, I don't know, doors, and so on. So in this way, search sets can be used on different projects if this hierarchy of properties is behold.
All right, that sounds good. There are a few more questions, but I think we're gonna wait a little bit so you can keep going for a while, and we'll take more. So I see it's already 10 minutes to 4 p.m. here, so we're probably gonna extend a little bit over.
Okay. Just wanted to show one more thing, because in the first example I showed only a way manually to do the grouping And for me, the grouping is really important in Navisworks. That's why I will just show another test and show how to automatically group issues. Okay, so let's run another test. And you see here that we have like 180 issues. We have 180 issues that are checks between HVAC systems and BIMs. Okay, and in order to group, we can use free add-ins. There is a new format connect add-in, which has the group clashes functionality, but also there is a free add-in called Navisworks coordination issues from Autodesk, and it works really well with grouping. So if I go to coordination, this is the plugin. I go to create groups. Okay, I have this table here. So first of all, we need to define which check we are going to focus on. And then we define here what kind of group we are going to create. Sometimes it's not working as it should be. So during the live presentation, it might lag. We will see. So here we group by, and we defined what kind of groups we want to create for our issues. So let's say here, let's say that we have these issues and we want to group them by level. Okay, in my file, in my case, I know that the information of the floor lies in the item property set in layer property. Okay, and now if we need to prioritize the grouping by selection A or B. It means we choose from what kind of groups we are going to create from layers from HVAC model or from structural model. In our case, I will choose from HVAC model. Here you see that the groups, the example name of the group will be 09 flow, which is the name of our level. And there will be 4 groups. If I click create groups, boom. Right now you see we have like 4 groups for second floor issues. These are all these issues for first floor, for roof, for third floor. So taking everything into consideration when you are working with Navisworks, first of all, you need to be very specific when it comes to creation of clash tests. Take into consideration clash matrix concept and a system hierarchy concept. So these clashes, which will be architectural versus structural, has more or most probably higher priority than electrical versus plumbing issues. Okay. And also the second thing, please group things, because you are not going to go through 180 issues, but right now we have like 4 issues. If the person is if the person from the HVAC team is John Smith, and this person is working on level 3, okay? So, hey, John, your design sucks, you know? Sucks. Here is a proof. And right now we know that all the issues from floor 3 will go to John Smith, very specific person who need to check these issues. Okay, cool. Just checking if I okay. Right now, you mentioned about how these people will know about the issue. Okay, so about these comments and about these issues. And the last part of clash detection is to send the report, as I mentioned in the grab before. And there are a few ways we can do it. First of all, we go to report section. In the report type, we choose which test we want to report. The current test, all tests. In our case, let's say that we want to create a current test. Then we need to choose the format, in which format we are going to create a clash test, issue report. And I would say that all these report formats sucks. I don't like them. I don't use them. A lot of people use HTML issue report. A lot of people use like PDFs, XML files. From my perspective, they are useless and I don't like them. I will just show you how such a report looks like in HTML file. So this is the HTML file report from Navisworks, and you asked where this information about the comment lands. So as you can see here in the report, there is a comment, hey, John, your design sucks, blah, 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 okay? Then this report can be sent to a designer, but it's super hard for designer to find an issue, okay? And then write back the information to me as a BIM coordinator if that issue was fixed, if it was not fixed. That's why I always recommend to, I always recommend to people not to use HTML reports, static reports, PDFs, Word documents, because there are several problems related to it. First of all, if you send a static file, the consultant don't know if they are looking at the newest issue report. That's one thing. Another thing, these reports, static reports, are detached from the 3D model. So they are mostly detached from Revit model. If they are using Revit to create a disciplinary model, they need to find, their objects using the item ID, element ID. And this is error prone, time consuming, and I don't recommend it. So what I recommend, use BCF file format, BIM, which is BIM collaboration format, which is a format that you can be used to create issue reports. If you are not using BCF report, what I would recommend is to use issue managers. There are a few on the market right now that you can choose. Autodesk Construction Cloud has their own model coordination module. It's very easy to transfer issues from Navisworks into this web-based application. There is also Newforma Connect, BIM Collab plugins that also do really good work with handling issues.
Do you have a personal favorite when it comes to
yeah, I have. I work a lot with BIM Collab. It's really powerful, really easy to use. But for Navisworks, I also like Newforma Connect because it has like this group clashes functionality. I haven't used a lot of model coordination. I've done, some tests. It works well, but for me, more user friendly are like BIM Collab and Newforma Connect. That's why
Newforma Connect used to be called BIMtrack, isn't it?
Yeah. It's BIMtrack, but they changed the name.
Yeah, it's actually made by local people here in Quebec.
Yeah. They are like BIM1, something like this.
That's right. Yeah, I know these guys.
Okay, cool.
So I have lots of questions, so I don't know if I should keep going, or maybe we can take a few of them. So you just shown the whole process in Navisworks. I've also recently explored directly doing clashes in ACC. Is that something you've played with? And what would you say are the differences with Navisworks when it comes to it? Is it, it depends on the file format, maybe?
Like exactly. That we can say that ACC. I played with the ACC model coordination module, and I would say that. First of all, I have better experience with Navisworks, like a larger experience. That's why I prefer more or less this tool, because I see that there are like, I see that the Autodesk want to to stay with Navisworks as a desktop application that will run the tests, but this model coordination is still like in an early phase. And I see sometimes, when I work with different files, it shows it's a bit cranky, it takes time to check the model. And I miss a lot of functionalities, especially which are in Solibri and which I would like to show you in in the demo.
Okay, there's more questions, but I would love to see Solibri. So if you want to show some of it.
Yeah, so right now, this was the end of Navisworks. I know it was really short, but since the time flies, so we need to rush a bit. So right now, we will jump into Solibri, a quick comparison between those two, okay? As someone asked about. So basically, when we work with Solibri, we need to use IFC files, period. Navisworks, in comparison, as I mentioned, use a multiple files, can open almost like 50 different file formats. And but on the other hand, Navisworks has much more advanced model checking capabilities in comparison to Navis. And for those who are interested about the comparison between those two applications, feel free, go to BIM Corner YouTube channel. There is a YouTube about it. So I dive a bit deeper into this thing. And I wanted to, before we dive into Solibri, I wanted to present a Solibri clash detection workflow, which is very similar to this, which I showed with Navisworks. But since Solibri is a rule-based checker, the whole you can see here at the center that we are building not clash tests, we are building rules here, and that's why I would like to show you how these rules can be leveraged by BIM coordinators. So right now, let's dive into Solibri. Okay, cool. So we are in Solibri. We have the same model, just to show you, the comparison between those two applications. First, we need to federate the model. We need to create a federation model. So here are the models that we are going to use in this project. And if you want to add a new model, we just right click, add a new model, you choose a new model, and that's it. Super simple, okay? And now let's go into the heart of model checking capabilities of Solibri. We go to File, to Rules Manager. And here in the Rules Manager, we defined what kind of rules we are going to use in the project. Solibri gives us possibility to use different templates, different rules, already existing rules that can be used for our purposes. So as you can see, we can check the distances between spaces. We can check escape route analysis. We can perform IDS validation, which is quite new rule. There is a general intersection rule, and this is actually general intersection rule. This is the rule that Navisworks has to offer. That's it, only this one. And you see how many other rules Solibri has. We can check spaces. We can check the required property sets and those type of things. And for us, for this sake of this presentation, I created a BIM Pure webinar rule, which has several checks. Okay, first we will go into clash detection, then we will check the clearances, then we will check the information, and then I will show you what gatekeeper rule is. Okay, sounds good?
Yep.
Cool. So we go into the checking tab. I don't know if you, Nick, used Solibri before, or you are.
I've never used it. It's the first time I see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So we go into the checking tab. Checking tab it's like the clash detection tab in Navisworks. In the checking tab, we have all these rules that I presented before here. I will just expand them, and I will just click check model. Cool. Now, in the clash detection rule, I created a rule called HVAC versus architectural walls. Okay. And as you can see on the right, I have all the clashes that are related to this rule. These are intersection of the HVAC model with curtain walls. Here are intersection of ducts and different HVAC models and HVAC objects with architectural walls. As you can see, it's super fast to see the results. And what's cool with it, let's go to right click, let's go to rule parameters. And I will show you how the rule is built very quickly. So as you can see here, it's very similar to clash tests in Navisworks. on the left, we defined what kind of objects we are going to check. So if there is HVAC versus architectural, here we defined building services because this is HVAC model inside Navisworks. Then on the right, in Solibri, sorry. Then on the right, component 2, we defined, okay, these are the architectural walls. So we defined what component, architectural walls from architectural model, and curtain walls from architectural model. And one more thing, as you can see here, there are ducts that go through the walls, okay? Often these ducts are not considered as the issue because, let's say, architects don't create a cutouts or MEP don't create a cutouts, and we assume that perpendicular ducts are not issues, or often I get such requests from the team. So in Solibri, it's super easy to exclude these from the check. We go to exceptions, and here we can define what exceptions Solibri need to append into this rule. So in our case, duct or pipes that goes through perpendicularly, goes through the wall, and their protrusion is less than 50, more than 50, there will be excluded from the check. Okay. In this case, I would just enable. Yeah, I enabled this this exception. So in this case, if I rerun the check, you see right now there was 200 issues. If I click this one, most probably this issue will disappear. Yeah, exactly. So what happened? I excluded all the perpendicular ducts that go through the walls because we, let's say me and the HVAC team discuss it, and we are not going to report them as an issue. And in that way, it's super simple in Solibri to add such exceptions to the check. And those exceptions can relate to different things like pipes and ducts goes through the slab, lighting fixtures and suspended ceiling checks, all those type of things we can exclude, and it's already built in the rule.
Yeah, I see there seem to be pre-made these exceptions. Can you build your own custom
exactly
exceptions?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, okay.
Of course. Then let's jump into, I know it's a lot of talking, apologize, but I want this session to be meaty. I hope it's fine for you.
Yeah, all good.
Cool. So let's jump right now to clearances, because in Navisworks, there is an option to check the clearances, but in my opinion, it's not perfect. I would say it sucks, but I will be polite. So I will say it's not perfect. And let's say that we want to check the clearances in front of the windows. Okay. So we are checking the free spaces. And if I go to the rule of this, so you see how advanced such rule can be. First, we defined what kind of elements we are going to check, and we are checking windows in this case. Then we defined the area of free space that needs to be in front of this object. So in our case, window. Okay, so we defined 100 millimeters free space on different angles, and here you can see what directions we are talking about. And then we can actually say what components can stand in front of these areas. Maybe there are some exceptions. I will just show you in a sec. So in our case, in this clearance in front of the windows, there are two issues. There is one duct which stands in the front of this window, and there is a column which stands in the front of this window. But let's say, I don't know, let's say that, yeah, ducts are okay, but columns are not okay. So we can actually add here in a duct as a exception to the rule. If I rerun the test, you see that there is only column issue and this duct issue, which was before it vanished. And the same we can have with clearances in front of the doors, the same rule. I'm not going deep into it, but we can include what kind of doors. We can include, okay, take only doors which has the fire rating, for example, E50 or something like that. And as an exception, if there is a column, that's fine. Okay, I don't know. I'm just, So these are the capabilities that this rule, free clearance room, has to offer. Also, just take a sip. Also, there is another rule related to, for example, clearances. It's quite advanced. So let's say that we are checking suspended ceiling, clearance above suspended ceiling. We go here, boom. We have a roof and we have a suspended ceiling. Which one is here? And you see there is no room between those two. So if I go into the rule parameters, you can see that we can check the distance to target components. We can choose which distance will be checked. And there are different ways we can check the distances between different objects. Directly above, directly below, horizontally alongside. We defined allowed, required, maximum distance, minimum distance. We then specify what components we are going to check. Also, if there are any spaces that we want to check especially, we can ignore them or we can check them. So these are the things that, these are the things that Solibri is much more advanced in when it comes to, in comparison to Navisworks. You can see there are tons of different customization that you can add to the model. And in our case, if I just add a slide is like create an issue, okay? And if I add a slide, you can see here there is one component and it's written the minimum distance should be 400 millimeters, the distance is 0. So we already know just in a sec what kind of issue is all about. We can write like the statement, okay, this is something to fix, and we can assign a person, like architectural team or something like that. There are components as associated with this issue, and we can see here right now the issue is saved. I'm just going into the last part, like a data checks, because
just before that, so with Navisworks, you generated some sort of HTML report that was the default way, but you had these plugins. So there was Newforma Connect or there was BIM Collab. But with Solibri, do you also use these plugins?
Yeah, okay. Exactly. You can use these plugins. So you go to BCF Live Connector, and using BCF Live Connector, I'm not going to use it right now because it might mess up the presentation. But generally speaking, it's very easy to connect it directly into Newforma Connect to BIM Collab in order to see all the live views from these applications.
All right.
Also, like if I just create one presentation, also Solibri has one thing which Navisworks don't has. If I go to, there's a presentation, if I go to report, I can create report in BCF format. Navisworks don't have it. Well, you need to have a special plugin that creates an issue report in BCF format, okay? Coming back to the checks. So we had the clearance checks, we had clash detection checks, but also, as I mentioned before, before people are sending us IFC files, they are checking the data. And here, for example, is an information check, and we are checking if there is IFC building element proxy exists in the model. If exists, it's wrong. IFC building element proxy, as I mentioned before, it's like a general object class in IFC, and we don't want that. We want that all the elements are associated with a certain IFC entity. So let's say doors are IFC doors, walls are IFC walls, and so on. So in this case, I'll just show you the rule. We can name the issue, okay, IFC building element proxy, what components we are going to check. We are going to check, and we define here, all elements that are included in discipline architectural, and these elements need to have the IFC entity property, IFC building proxy or IFC building element proxy type. If such instances exist, then please tell me about it, okay? And if I click here, so you see these objects. If I choose an object, I go to BIM data and check for the IFC entity. You see it's wrong. We should like wall sweep. We should assign it to wall sweep or IFC wall, something like that. So in that case, we can check the information inside the element. Another data check that we can perform on our model using rules. For example, floors must agreed on the list from the list. So let's say that we have a list of floors in the project that must have certain name. So let's say allowed values are 0, 1 floor, 0, 2 floor, 0, 3 floor, roof, parapet. And floor must be a capital letter. Let's say this is our template. In this case, if I go to results of the check, you see that some of the elements has the name of the floor 003 floor, but a small letter, and some of the elements has are land on the level sub level, okay, which doesn't exist in our rule. So in this case, if we have specific values for certain parameters, we can check the model for any deviations of those values. Okay. And the last thing, also cool one, model components belong to correct level. So let's say I will just check that. Okay. So let's say that we know that level 1, floor 1 ranges from minus 700 millimeters to 10 meters. Okay. If the object doesn't sit in this range, then please tell me about it. Okay. And we can see, let's say the structural walls. Okay. I see that the structural team doesn't cut the model into several, doesn't divide the wall into levels. Okay. And it should create a wall for each level, for example, and this might be a case. We could do the same. It can be the same with architectural model. Okay. So in this case, we are checking if the model belongs to the correct level. And at the last thing which I wanted to show you are gatekeeper rules. What are gatekeeper rules? Gatekeeper rules are rules that are nested to each other. So there is one rule and there is nested rule, a sub rule that goes. So the first rule, a gatekeeper rule, is more or less an filter rule, and it filters out all the elements, all the things that we want to check. So in our case, let's say that we do you remember when I mentioned about zone A, zone B, and zone C of the building? Okay, so there was zone A, zone B, and zone C of the building. So let's say that this rule only filters out. We are going to check only issues in zone A of the building, and then we are going to check HVAC versus architectural walls. So this filters out only issues. And just give me a sec. I need to show it differently. I will just show it here. You see here, the gatekeeper rule says, okay, gatekeeper rule, sub rule options, check only past components, and only the components that will pass this gatekeeper rule will go further into the check. So in our case, we have HVAC versus architectural. If I click it, you see right now that only issues in this zone are displayed. So in that way, we can easily filter out the things that we don't want by creating the gatekeeper rules. Okay. Just give me a sec. I think that's it when it comes to Solibri presentation. If you would like to learn more about Solibri issues, clash detection, because there is also a new release clash detection matrix rule, and we are going to have a webinar about it, about IDS, about how to use this clash detection matrix. There will be in the week cool webinar, I think, with BIM specialist from Solibri with Paul. Go to becomebimcoordinator.com/webinar and you can register there. And I'm not sure if we are going, Nicholas, into the last part. I wanted to present like
the Stream Deck?
The Stream Deck and Elgato and how we could use it as a BIM coordinators. What do you think?
Yeah, well, can you give an overview, and then it would be good to take a few more questions.
Sure. So what do you think? We go into questions or I'm presenting?
Yeah, well, if you want to, for a couple of minutes, explain what this is and what you do with it.
I think it will take like 5 minutes max, okay?
Okay,
so
all right.
basically, right now, I would like to show you a little thing. I don't know, you guys, if you know Elgato Stream Deck. Just for those who don't know what it is.
I have one too, by the way.
Sorry?
I have one too as well, but it's the mini version with only 6 buttons.
Okay, cool. So Elgato Stream Deck basically is like a control panel with buttons. It helps us users, do different things, automate things, different tasks, apps. It's quite popular among streamers and creators. It's automate actions like, changing scenes, playing videos, adjusting audio, and those type of things, but it can be also quite handy for BIM coordinators. And I would like to show you like 2 use cases how we can use it. First case, because I didn't mention about batch utility in Navisworks, I'm going to use batch utility in conjunction with Stream Deck in order to create federated model. And the second example will be to show you how to create how to perform different, how to automate actions in Solibri using Stream Deck by just clicking on one button, okay? So right now, let's do like this. I need to explain a bit So right now, do you guys see the folder?
Yeah, we can see the windows with
the Windows folder. Okay,
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, so basically I have, my Stream Deck has different buttons, okay? And I created 2 buttons, one for Navisworks batch utility and one for Solibri Autorun. So these buttons are over here. I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but those are corresponding to those which I have here. So now we are going to focus on this first one. The first one will create for us a federated model. So let's say that you are a BIM coordinator and you received some models from disciplines and you want to automatically create the federated model based on the models that are inside certain folder. Here we have this folder. Let's say there are these 3 models that we want to federate in one. Using bat file, we can create this federated model, and I will just click on this button over here, and federation of the model will start. So we are right now starting. I hope it will start. We will see it. It's not starting. No, it's starting. Cool. So as you see, right now, Navisworks is working. And it's creating NWC files of the models, one thing. And right now you see federated model was generated. So this is more or less a cool automation, how easy it is to, using just one button, create a federated model. I will just open it. You see, this is a federated model created automatically. I would just, and these are these 3 models that are inside of it. Okay, so this was one automation. Another automation, which I think is also good to show you guys, is automation with Solibri Solibri Autorun. If you don't know much about Solibri Autorun, you can go into BIM Corner. There is an article about it just to show you. Solibri Autorun is a tool that gives us possibility.
There was actually a question about it in the chat, like if you could show it. So
yeah,
if you can,
yeah, exactly. So I'm going to show it. So a Solibri Autorun actually is a tool that we can use to automate perform different actions without clicking anything. Okay, and we need to create, of course, a script. Let's say a little bit of code in XML, and I will just show you how this XML file may look like. It's rather simple, and there are special comments that Solibri Autorun reads and interprets in a specific way. So in this case, this automation is going to open a federated model SMC file, which is this file. Then it will update all the models that are inside this file using these IFC files that we have here. Then it will check the model using the rule set, which is already inside this federated model. Then it will create a presentation. So let's say an issue report. We'll export a BCF report, and then it will save the model with the new name and with all the saved and updated models. Okay, simple as that.
All right, and so, that's another button on your
and that's another button, and I will just click it right now. I don't know if I clicked it. No, I need to. Yeah, right now I see that Solibri is opening. I will just move it here, and I will just explain a bit what's happening on the screen. I will just move it to yeah. So you see, guys, that Solibri is opening right now. You see here that it's updating the models. So these models that were stored in the IFC folder, it's updating right now. You see that there is a check rule intersection between building services components. So right now it's creating a check. So it's running a check and it's saving all the issues of this check. And in the communication tab, we are going to have a, yeah, here you see in the communication tab, we have all the issues, 258 issues stored from this check automatically. And if I go to the folder that we have the found issues BCF report created, and Solibri created for us federated model with issues SMC file. And if I open this SMC file, so Solibri model checker file, it will have not only updated models, but also checked model and report.
All right.
So this
That's
is
pretty cool.
So this is how actually we can use Solibri, Stream Deck to perform different actions. And just as a final word, Nicholas, just 1 minute, please. So just as a final word, I would like to say today that I showed just a few, tips related to clash detection. I think it's quite a huge topic to talk about, but you need also you need to remember that the clash detection is not a BIM coordination. It's just a part of it. I would say it's like a tip of the iceberg, and there are many other like duties, responsibilities that we as a BIM coordinators do in our daily job. And as a final word, if you are looking to transition into BIM coordinator, maybe you want to improve your skills in that regard, feel free to reach me out, write just a message on LinkedIn. You can write an email, write BIM coordinator, and I hope let's have a chat, and I hope I will be able to help. Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Nicholas, for the presentation, for being able to present it today.
All right, that was great. It was indeed very meaty, a lot of stuff in there. So we actually have a webinar together. It hasn't been announced yet, right? What date is that? Is it in October or something, or soon, or in September? Anyway, that's something that we're gonna announce later, right?
Yeah. About like model coordinates.
That's right. Yeah, I see on my calendar it seems to be
Yeah,
October
it's
3rd.
third. It's
So
3rd October. Yes, we are going to have it together. This
yeah,
time
yeah.
I will be the host.
You will be the host. That's right. Yeah, okay.
Cool.
So it's going to be announced later, so I don't want to spend too much time on that. Yeah, what else I wanted to mention? Yeah, I'll have a quick glance at the chat. So one of the topic that people were mentioning is how difficult it was to work with all the different file format and like using the native format versus IFCs. What are your thoughts on this? Do you have tips to make it work properly?
Like, mm, yeah, of course, working with IFCs often it helps when there is a mandate from the client to use IFCs. Okay, if on the project there is no mandate, people are getting lazy and they will just rely on proprietary formats like Revit and
Mm-hmm.
so on, so on. But if, for example, people are working on different software packages, there is like a must to use IFCs. Of course, if they are not based on one company, for example, I don't know, you are using Civil, you are using Revit and ACC. Yeah, then basically you can work on proprietary formats. But if you are using different vendors, different file formats from different vendors, I think IFC it's the natural choice. And then the question was, sorry, could you repeat how hard it is to?
I think that's a good answer. So IFC
Okay,
is
cool.
the ideal choice for you. So since we don't have much time left, let's go to another one.
Yeah.
Someone was asking about SketchUp. Have you ever done model coordination and clashes with SketchUp models?
Like SketchUp models can be exported to FBX, and we have a few models in FBX for example, Oslo Metro Line. We have a few models in FBX because of the let's say limitations of the delivery team, and it works more or less in the same way as with IFC files, but of course the data inside the FBX file is not so rich as IFCs. It's
But there are
nothing
no
there. It's just the geometry.
yeah, there's no categories in SketchUp,
Exactly.
so
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's like a geometry. So we are checking only like geometrical clashes.
Yeah, not great, not great. So Gemma, we asked if yeah, we won't have time to showcase it, but if you did some work on infrastructure projects, so do you typically work only in building, or you also work on
I
infrastructure?
typically build work on a building, but as I said, I'm right now for 2 years. I'm working on
Mm-hmm.
Oslo Metro project, which actually is a combination of buildings because stations are actually buildings and infrastructural projects, railway project. But mostly I'm working on building projects.
Okay. There's was a question from Mohammed. How much time and money is spent on clash detection versus net time and money potentially saved doing extensive clash detection and issue reports? So I guess the question implies that the person finds that it seems complex, but I mean, you show the picture, right? If you having clashes on the field, that can be so much lost money. And
Like
especially, I guess if you're used to it, like the whole process can be quite fast, isn't it?
yeah. The whole process it can be like even from the studies when I studied civil engineering, they say okay, all the issues that can be checked or all the errors that can be fixed on during the design phase are cost less than one tenth. I think that the cost of reducing the error during the design phase is 1/10 of the cost which you are going to spend on the construction side, because there are logistics, there are people, there are many other factors. But during the design that's why the good design coordination is so important, I think. But giving you the right numbers, it's hard to tell.
All right, I think that's going to be it for questions today. I can hear my daughters just came back from school, so
My kid is right now
uh,
crying. I don't know what's happening down there, but I think I was
all right,
talking too much.
we both have fatherly duties to do. So yeah, okay, that's gonna be it for questions, but lots of good questions. Sorry if we didn't
Cool.
have time to
Cool.
answer them all. But for them I've seen, you seem to prefer Solibri to Navisworks. Is that right? And from what I've seen, it also seems to be a much more modern user interface. It seems to be a more pleasant experience working in it. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, exactly. Solibri is designed especially for model coordination. Okay, it's a pity that it's not using any other file formats instead of the DWGs and IFCs. But yeah, it's much more advanced. It gives higher control over what we are checking, and I prefer this tool. But of course, I know that Navisworks is the most popular one on the market, so we need to stick with it as well for a while right now.
Okay, so let's put this to an end. I will just briefly mention a couple of things. So next week episode is going to be about AI details in Revit with this app called DTO that has emerged in the last year. And we're going to have Nick Lima from DTO as well as Nurva, who is from the architecture side. I've been trying this tool. Is going to talk about how their experience has been doing. That's next week. And thanks for Guardian for sponsoring this episode of BIM Pure Live. This is an app to help you manage your Revit models, to help you keep neat standards and workflows. And then have a look at the BIM Pure membership. They include access to all our courses, to the Org community, to live master classes exclusive to members, to downloads such as family collections, templates, new courses, not just by me, but also with experts such as Eric Fritz about developing a custom Revit toolbar. This one was released last week. And what else? Yeah, that's it. I think we made it. So make sure to tune in next week. And back to you, Ignacy. So thank you so much. I'll let you attend to your twins, because you have twins, right? Yeah. Are they both of them crying at the same time?
No. Right now, I think it's Henry who's crying. I don't know what's happening, so I need to jump there soon and check it.
All right. So thanks everybody for joining in this session. It was very
thanks, Nicholas, for having me.
It was very informative. So we're gonna see you all next week at the same time on Wednesday. So bye everyone. See you.
See you.